Hello, welcome to the Fifth Star. Today we're going to be talking about Severance episode 7. I know we never said we were going to do this, but after the episode dropped,
We just couldn't wait. We couldn't wait till the end of the season. It's too big.
And Albert apparently has a lot of theories that he really wants to share and get on paper, so here we go.
At this point, I don't even think they're theories. I think they reveal things.
Well, okay, let's if you're wrong, I don't want you to get disappointed.
So, episode 7.
Yep.
And what came before. What do you think?
Okay.
What are you thinking right now?
I mean, it's been kind of slow, but
Yeah.
I still feel steady. Each episode, I feel like they reveal just enough for me to, be satisfied.
Yeah.
Episode 6 was very slow. I was kind of like, okay, come on. We're, past mid-season at this point. We need to start picking up momentum.
And especially
And the
because
characters were just having convos.
Yeah, and once they found the directions to the testing floor,
I know.
the fact that we
I
were
was
not
like-
getting there.
I was like, let's go.
Yep.
Episode 7, oh my word.
Finally.
Masterpiece. It was so good.
It
Not
was so
only
good.
was it beautiful, it gave us so much new information.
I mean, I actually thought it was better than if the characters had gone to the testing floor. Because then we still wouldn't really know, because they wouldn't know what the heck was going
True.
on. But we got to see the inner workings
I
of what is going
know.
on.
Also, didn't you fall in love with Gemma immediately?
Yeah. Up until now, she has been
Immediate.
very robotic,
Yes.
according to my theory. But yeah, being able to see her memories and
Ugh.
see their relationship
She's
too.
so great.
Now I'm getting bought into their love and
I
their
know.
relationship and rooting for that to happen.
And you have so much empathy for Mark now,
Yeah.
or at least I do,
Mhm.
even more so than before.
Yeah.
Getting to see him before he became a split person.
Yeah.
Very, very interesting.
Okay, so up until now, we've had some theories.
Yep.
And I will just say, in episode 5, Irving being some kind of undercover agent or something, I feel like that's tracking. So
It's
I
tracking.
I feel good about that. I think I was right about that. But we still don't know who he's working for.
Right. It could be
Yeah.
a lot of different things.
Yeah. But you had a theory
Yes.
about Gemma.
Yes.
Which
I
was
felt so proud. Which was that she was split into 3, maybe 4, maybe even more. And I thought, depending on what floor she was on, I was wrong about the floor thing, but depending on what floor she was on, she was a new person. And so getting to see her become a new person in each room, I was like,
yeah.
I felt like I called it, at least half of it.
Yeah, no, I think
which
you
was
did.
cool.
Because I watched it and then
Yeah.
I rewatched some of the scenes a second time.
Mm.
But even then, I don't think I fully understood when she goes into one of these rooms,
Yeah.
which each of those is a project that they've worked on.
Right.
Right. But each time she goes in, I was like, is she switching to Miss Casey or Gemma? But when she goes into the dentist, she thinks that she's
just always been
she's
at the
just left
dentist.
there. Yeah.
Torture.
Yep. Or the Christmas
Yeah.
cards, she thinks it's always happening. Yeah. So I think you're right. I think she does have different.
People.
Yeah.
It's
Parts
terrible. It's
that she's
honestly,
trapped in. Mhm.
yeah. And it's very reminiscent of Dollhouse. I haven't seen that many people talking about this on the internet,
Yep.
but her whole character on the Dollhouse is based on getting her personality rewritten for each situation that might require it, and then coming back to being just a doll in this kind of limbo world.
Yeah.
And that's sort of what Gemma is existing as again.
Mhm.
It's crazy.
So I had theorized that in the testing floor, we're going to have rows of pods or something of maybe
Yeah.
people and machines. So there weren't pods, but there were rows of rooms,
True.
right? Now,
So cool.
we only see Gemma so far. So it doesn't seem like there are multiple versions of her that we see. But it is interesting because when you see the shot of the room that she, her living quarters, there's a room right across the hall that's also a living quarter, and we don't know who's there. So
there's got to be more.
there's got to be more people, beings, other people being brought and worked on different projects. We
And
don't
then-
know. Yeah.
Petey in season 1
Mhm.
said there are workers, people, plural,
living there
that are stuck and never
Mm.
leave. Like, and now I really want to know, how does he know that?
Yeah.
How? Because did he go to the testing floor?
Mm.
And if he did, is that why he got fired?
Okay. Yeah. I don't
Because I don't know. It's really weird that he would have that information
Yeah.
without actually seeing it firsthand.
know. Okay. Any other theories? I have some big pieces that I need to unpack.
Okay.
But do you have any other theories, working theories right now based on what we saw in the last episode?
This theory I kind of share with the friends I'm watching it with, Sydney and Spencer and Bryce.
Hello.
Anyway, we think that their whole testing thing is related to taming the 4 tempers.
Okay.
Because the doctor guy, creepy doctor guy, keeps asking her, how did you feel after this room? Did you feel like happy
Did you feel
or
despair
fear
or fervor or gaiety?
Yes. And it's very much like
Those
basically
are,
synonyms for frolic and dread and,
Yeah.
And so I think that they're trying to tame all of them out of her so that she essentially becomes a shell, maybe. My husband thinks that she's going to be the next revolving.
Okay.
So they're preparing her for that. I personally am not so sure if I
can
agree
see
with
that.
it, but I do think they're using her body for something. Also, 100%, like, they messed up her pregnancy. Like, Lumon is responsible for her not being able to have a child because they go to the Lumon, like, clinic.
Yeah.
And you can see the doctor in the background, the same doctor.
Okay. I missed that.
Yeah, we, like, went back and, like, paused it, and we were like, that's him. So creepy in the flashback.
Okay.
And then
But at that
you
point,
can see the teardrop in the corner of the paper.
yes, that she's signing. I saw that when I rewatched it.
So they're doing something to her blood or
Yeah.
something to her uterus. I don't know. But it made me think of that giant wide. I thought it looked like a uterus.
Yeah.
It's actually the thumbnail for the next episode.
Oh, okay. So I thought that was proving my theory of Lumon is kind of the brain of Kier, and so I thought it looked like a neck, kind of shoulders,
Right.
and then the head and the brain and all that kind of stuff. But you thought it looked like
a uterus. Which, like, I feel like they're messing with her somehow in that way.
Yeah, with the tower that's kind of placed strategically right at the... But yeah, there is something about infertility that Lumon is doing that's interesting. I'm not exactly sure how to piece all that together, but I do think I don't have any of the big questions answered, I think.
Okay.
But some of the actual mechanisms of what is happening, I think, in the testing floor, I felt like it kind of clicked for me. And so this is kind of my working theory. She comes out of every room, every project, and each project focuses on a certain experience or a certain memory.
Right.
Now, we see a combination of different kinds of memories throughout the episode. Some seem like just straight flashbacks. Some seem like reenactments, like an airplane or something like that. But I think all of those are being represented by each of the different rooms that she goes into, and that each one is really coded to a certain feeling, a certain one of the tempers, right? If you look at the first meeting that she has with Mark at the blood donation, that's frolic. It's like her happiest moment. Then she has the dentist, which everyone who goes to the dentist feels a sense of dread. You have the miscarriage, which is whoa. You have the fertility, and that's dread, and failed pregnancy test, that's whoa. Like,
what about malice?
So when they fight, I think that's where the malice you see.
It was such a tame fight, though.
It was tame, but, for them, it might have been a really intense fight, right? Airplane turbulence, that was dread. Writing thank you notes, malice. Because Adam...
she was so angry at him.
Because Mark, he says, you hate writing thank you notes, right?
Also, wasn't she writing with her left hand? And I think she's actually right-handed.
Oh,
and that's why the handwriting was so
bad. Yeah, that's interesting.
So he's forcing her to use her left, maybe.
One of the working theories that we had, right, is we didn't mention this in our season 1, but we've talked about this since, where perhaps what's happening is if these are resurrected bodies, like Gemma died, but her body was just resurrected, the thing that's going to go first is the brain, right?
Yeah.
Brain damage. That's one of the markers of death.
That is the marker of death.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then so perhaps what's happening with the goats, we're theorizing, is that goat brains are being used as kind of like a canvas for these bodies.
Which I hate that theory, but...
So if that's the case, I think what's happening is Gemma's old memories are being re-implanted into her.
Oh.
Yes, in each of these rooms.
Oh, I hate that.
And so, like,
that'd be so dark.
Like, if you think about it, what makes us feel like people? What gives us a sense of identity, of personhood, and all this stuff? Yeah, it is emotion, but also like memory, right? Like, if you forget everything, it kind of is like, well, who am I? You know, so the grounding of like our past memories kind of give us like this sense of personhood, I think, in a lot of ways. And so for her to be implanted with her memories would then make her like whole again, right? Make her like the person that Mark remembers, like that they can look at each other and recognize each other. So when they're saying, oh, like they don't recognize each other, like that's something that they need to like work towards like overcoming.
But Milchick says that's good.
But he does say that's good, but maybe that's because
Cobell is wanting them to recognize each other.
Maybe it's just because they're not ready to make all those pieces connect yet, because they still have to do Cold Harbor.
Yeah.
And I think Cold Harbor is the last memory that we see, which is her death. And so that's the part that's incomplete still. And until
that montage was so cool.
It was so good.
Sorry.
And so until that's done, then they can reconnect all of the memories so that she can remember all of them at once.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's gonna cause too much like dissonance and you know, like get her all confused. Now, because up until now, even in at the end of season 1, we've been kind of constantly wrestling with. So there's a lot of talk about emotions, clearly the 4 temperaments, but also like memories is a big part of it. And then it clicked for me in this episode. What are the memories that we remember most intently usually? The most intensely negative emotions a lot of times.
Yeah.
Like our dread, our sadness, my earliest memories as childhood are usually these negative memories I have.
Yeah.
And so I think there's like a strong connection being made between these extreme emotions and how they imprint more deeply into our brains. So I was like wondering, okay, is this just something I'm thinking happens but is not scientifically proven? So I did a little Google search.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Here we go. And so this is not even like a medical journal or anything. It's a website or organization called the Human Project Foundation. In a little article we can link below, it says, why do we hold on to negative experiences more than positive ones? Well, it says research in psychological and neuroscience points to the negativity bias, an evolutionary trait that makes humans more attuned to negative experiences than positive ones. And there's a few reasons why. The first one is is a survival mechanism, which makes sense. Like if you have a bad experience doing something,
you don't want to replicate it.
Yeah, exactly. So your brain like hardwires and makes you remember that.
Checks
out.
But
the second one, it's a deeper processing. So negative emotions such as fear, which is dread, sadness, or anger, malice, activate the amygdala, a region in the brain responsible for emotional processing. This heightened activation strengthens the encoding of negative experiences into memory. First of all, this site has nothing to do with Severance.
Right.
And the 3 things that they point out are perfectly aligned. Now, the fourth one...
This also aligns with Inside Out.
Okay, yeah, that's true. And you know, these are pretty common, right? But the fourth one is gaiety and happiness, right?
Yeah.
But happiness usually gets, like in the article it also says, like usually we kind of like move on from it after the kind of endorphin hit or whatever. And so we don't really like dwell on it enough. So it kind of gets out of balance, right?
Okay.
So I think what's happening with Lumon is they're offering people the ability to remove their negative emotions. That checks out. You have Gemma, who had this intense loss through miscarriage, which is a new revelation, right? We didn't know about. And if some negative emotions, like we just cannot get over. Yeah. And so some people can be desperate to the point of, I just want it erased. And that does go along with the taming. Yes. The emotions. Except why would you tame Frolic? Okay. So when Helena which was another reveal this season, right? We thought Helly, but it was really Helena on the inside. But
we knew it was
yeah,
Helena.
we knew. Yeah, but when she came back out and she was at the conference room,
Yeah.
they said your tempers will rebalance soon. So
Right.
I'm thinking that Kier had this kind of philosophy of, for us to be, what does everyone want in life?
To be happy.
To be happy, right? We want probably none of the other three and only gaiety and frolic, right? But when we get so overcome by one of the three emotions, other temperaments, it overrides our joy. And so I think that this balancing is a taming of the other three so that we can experience the joy. If anything, maybe the goal is to completely eliminate the other three so we can only be in bliss all the time.
This is a very good philosophical
yeah
discussion.
I mean, how else do we deal with negative emotion? Do we if we had the opportunity to just forever remove our deepest, darkest, most painful memories, would you take it?
No.
But a lot of people, I think, would, right? Like, you would be really tempted, especially if you're stuck in it the way Mark Scout is.
Right.
The way Gemma was in her flashbacks that we saw. And so if you're stuck in that, I think a way to rebalance is the removing of those things. And I think what they get is that. And then what Lumon gets is those memories. So they get those memories and then they get to encode it into a thing. And so, like, the fact that Gemma got severed after she lost a baby.
That baby was murdered.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry.
And then so even the creepy doctor says to Gemma, like, Kier will take away Mark's pain like he took away Gemma's, right? And so, or took yours away. So I think that is very much the exchange that's happening. The other part of this is the chip.
Yeah.
I think the chip is actually in the amygdala. When I looked at a map or a picture or the diagram of where the amygdala is placed, it lines up with where, like, the X-ray, we see the little chip in the X-ray of
it's
Gemma
dead
talking.
center?
It's like, yeah, near the, if that's the the brain, it's like right there.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
so
it's
think,
lower though. Isn't it down here?
I think it's like right in that curve part.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Huh.
And it said, according to a source, the amygdala plays a central role in emotional recognition.
Yes.
And so I think what's happening on the screens and MDR and all this stuff, which we also saw, MDR is connected down in over Ethernet cables or whatever, cat cables, down to the testing floor, right?
Right.
With the 4 doppelgangers.
Which those are totally the ones from the
You think they
outing.
are, right?
Yeah.
Just
they
from
had,
far
like,
away?
Maybe holographic faces on or something. Yeah.
But it does look like that.
It's creepy how similar they look, yeah.
And then so they're sitting there, like, looking at the person's face, like Mark or Helly, and then, like, pushing buttons as they're processing things, right?
Yeah.
So I think I think what the chip is it's a transmitter. That's all it is. It's in the amygdala, and then when you have these emotional experiences or memories and the emotions that are tied to it, it's just intercepting all the data that's going through the amygdala. And then what happens is that the deepest memories, which are tied to the 3 negative temperaments, I think as Mark S. innie is, or all the innies are staring at these numbers, they're feeling emotions based on these numbers.
Right.
And when they package that together, they're packaging that memory or the piece of that memory that's connected to that emotion, drops it in, and then it gets sent downstairs. And then
they're micro data.
Yeah, maybe. But I think that data, those memory data set is being then re-implanted and printed onto Gemma.
New chips? Oh, onto Gemma.
Onto Gemma. So
interesting.
I think that all of these memories had Mark there or was aware of, from what I can think of. I mean, maybe the airplane, he wasn't in it. But I think those memories are the ones that Mark remembers of Gemma. That's why it's coming from his memory set. And then it's being coded into Gemma because we've lost Gemma's memories.
Okay.
When she died.
Yeah.
So I think that's the mechanism.
Well, I do see
think?
that as being an option, especially because they've never really explained why getting Petey's chip was so important. Like, he was literally in a coffin, about to be buried with it. So I don't think they were necessarily worried about someone else getting their hands on it.
Okay.
I think the chip itself is very valuable to them. And I can't think of why. And also the fact that when they point at the chip,
They say,
Cobell or Milchick says that's PD.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we talked about it in our last review. But like we were thinking it was more just memory storage or like RAM or something.
Yeah.
But maybe it's emotional storage. Yeah.
Okay.
You could be right. Because I think the chips themselves are extremely important to the mysterious work.
Yes. Now, I think I'm actually leaning away from the chips themselves storing. Now, it might be a temporary storage, or maybe
you think it's a receptor, right?
Yeah, I think it's a transmitter. So it's just kind of like passively transmitting the data, in the form of these numbers.
Yeah.
But perhaps it also stores that data. So when PD left, the memories that he was accessing as he was getting reintegrated, like he was disconnected from their system. So maybe that's why they want the information back, because to get the last of those memories.
I still really want to know, too, what the coil of doom was, because it's marked on PD's map.
Oh, okay.
And there is a coil in the chip.
Yes.
So I'm super curious if that's even relevant.
Yeah,
that might just be a red herring.
Something DNA related.
But the coil of doom.
Yeah.
Does that have to do with the chips, like transmitting? I don't know.
Yeah. Now, that makes me then wonder, who are the doppelgangers? Are they human? Do they have outies?
They didn't speak. They said nothing.
Yeah, they sat there very robotically. I kind of think they're machines, because when they're looking at these numbers, and it seems like they're getting something from them. So I think this whole idea of machine learning, it might still be at play, where they're looking at these numbers and be able to interpret it and be like, oh, okay, they're starting to see a picture put together, or this is what this emotion feels like. So I think Milchick is also on this pathway or part of that bucket, but I think he's not human, because after he receives his face on Kier kind of painting, right? And he doesn't know how to react. And then later in episode 5, he talks to Natalie and he says, like, how did you feel? Because he says that he doesn't know how to feel has these complex feelings and doesn't know how to feel how he should feel.
Yeah.
And so I think that he's also kind of needing that piece of the amygdala information and data, that as a machine or created thing, that he doesn't have those pieces. Because the amygdala also, not only is it the central role in emotional recognition, it is also essential for social interaction and communication, which is why I think Milchick is so awkward and doesn't like know how to react sometimes.
There's definitely something weird about him, but I still don't think he's a robot.
Okay. I have more reasons to think he's a robot, or that there are actual robots. I think the number one thing is that Gemma, when she hits the creepy doctor with the chair.
Yeah.
Did you hear the sound effect?
No, but there's blood.
It sounded, that's fine. Cyborgs could have blood. But it sounded like metal hit metal on metal. It was like a clank. But then when she puts the chair down, drops it on the ground, it has like a thud, like it's plastic.
Okay, I'd have to rewatch it because I don't remember.
I heard it initially, and I was like, wait. And as I went back and re-listened to it, I could swear it sounded like a metal on metal type of sound.
Dang.
So I think the doctor...
If you call it, that's crazy.
I think the doctor has a metal skull.
Whoa.
And so I think he's a machine. The other thing, when Mark's sister, Devin, is talking with that surgeon or whatever in Mark's place. But yeah, when she's talking to her about like, oh, I'm going to call Miss Cobell. What does she say? She says, you can't because she was raised by them. She's a soldier.
Yeah. They've revealed that already, that she went to the Kier Academy for Girls.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So I thought that raised was like she was actually created and raised up from scratch.
Creepy.
So that's the other thing that I thought like, okay, maybe. Now, I don't know if that means that Mark and everyone else is a robot too. I kind of think that Mark S could also be a robot.
No, I refuse to accept that.
Okay, here's the reason.
No.
One. How is he able to read the numbers? If it is a transmitter, a chip, right? That's transmitting like the numbers of like what the data is of these memories,
Mm-hmm.
like how does he know what that means? Like if you saw a data stream, of your neural
How do
activity,
any of them know what it means?
if they're robots, they can read machine languages.
No.
And so he's able to recognize the numbers and see like what.
So that means Helly's a robot?
I mean, they might all be. I don't know. But because here's the other thing. Now, okay, up until now, I want to just say,
Okay.
this episode, I think what it really clarified was the mechanism of the memory and the emotional connection.
Yeah.
And the chip with
Yeah.
the amygdala. Like, so I think that is pretty convincing.
Okay.
I do think the machines part of it still fits kind of with my working theory. So
But it is stretching.
it might be stretching a little bit. Now we're getting into out there theories, okay?
Oh my. We're not even in out there theories,
Okay,
guys.
just a couple. I don't have a lot from this episode, but
I mean, I enjoy hearing your theories.
okay. Hopefully you guys do too. But so Lumon, I do think they're involved in some kind of fertility business, but
For sure.
I do think that they might be using that as a cover to source people or to source their DNA or to screen people.
Do you think the blood drive at the beginning was Lumon?
Oh, interesting.
And they were getting their blood?
It could be. Ooh, interesting. Yeah. So I don't know exactly what their thing is, but that fertility thing could still be part of it.
Mhm.
I do think there's my season 1 thing is still in play of maybe, humanity's lost the ability to procreate or something. And, so Kier apologizing in the break room speech, like, and him saying, through my stain, everyone will live on and all that.
Yeah.
So my children will live on. So I think some of that can still be at play, but I don't really know how that all works. But actually, in a line with that,
Yeah.
when the creepy doctor tells Gemma, like, Mark will benefit from the world you are siring.
Mm-hmm.
And she goes, why don't you just talk like a normal person?
Yeah.
Well, siring is like an old kind of term for like birthing, but it's from a father's perspective. It's a male
right.
kind of, like giving offspring, right? So Gemma is a female.
Mm-hmm.
So that could fit with or Bryce's theory of if she's being prepared to be the next kind of Kier revolving.
Like Egan maybe is going into, I don't know.
Yeah, and so
creepy.
maybe that's why for her, like, he can term it that way. But it also could be maybe she's a machine and doesn't have gender, and so in that way, like, she's kind of birthing. But there is something about what they're being prepared to do. The senator's wife, like, so with babies and the state of humanity and all of that kind of stuff. Now, the other thing that was kind of said was when Gemma says she wants to get out to Creepy Dr. Man, Creepy Dr. Man says, you real Mark, he's moved on. You've been gone for a long time. And he's...
I wanted to punch him in the face when he said that.
He's gotten married and has a daughter.
She didn't buy it.
Yeah, she didn't buy it. And I don't think we're supposed to either. It seems like he's just lying to her, right?
But
Except
then
if...
she is Helly... Oh, that's not what you were gonna say?
No. Wait. So if she's Helly,
is Helly pregnant?
Oh,
Anyway.
okay. Well, I was thinking again. This show, whenever they say something meaning for you to take a certain way,
Right.
I think they're trying to be literal.
Okay.
I think possibly real Mark is therefore out in the real world, and he went to Lumon.
This doctor's got you fooled, Albert.
So he went to Lumon to have his negative temper, negative.
Cured.
Yeah, like his memory erased. And he then moved on, and not that he even lived in Kier. I think Kier is like a bottle like world that's been created, by Kier and controlled by Lumon and all this stuff. And then that memory got then implanted into Mark S., who thinks he's human. And then now his memories are now being transmitted and implanted into Gemma, where now the two of them will maybe like be, Adam and Eve for all of a new humanity or a new race of machines, or I don't know. So I don't really know that part of it, but I do think that might be a reason why Mark could actually maybe not really be the real Mark.
No.
I know I wouldn't like it either. Like,
and also there's not enough clues for that. There's really not enough clues.
Yeah,
for
but
that.
there's some stuff happening here.
They would have had to reveal some kind of clue about robots, I think.
Like the show literally telling you that it's been a long time. Mark's moved on and he's remarried now.
Yeah, because that
And we're
guy's
like,
a
no.
liar. We can't listen to a thing he says. Am I supposed to believe that's the tallest waterfall in the world? No. Milchick is a trickster.
Maybe the whole rest of the world has been nuked and destroyed, and that is like here is like the new Eden.
Milchick also told them that it had been 5 months and that they were heroes. The innies were heroes in the real world or whatever. Yeah, that was all a lie.
Okay. Well,
so we can't trust these people.
We can't trust these corporate Lumon people.
This is already, I think, online and like commonly agreed upon. Okay. But the optics and design, they're designing all the rooms on the testing floor, right? Because that's why they have an exports guy.
Okay, and they need all the like paintings and stuff to dress up the different rooms.
To dress up the different rooms.
Yeah, interesting.
The different rooms, right? We already said share the names of all the projects that they've been working on upstairs in macro. And I think maybe, and we've been talking about this like among our peers, that there is a connection to the Civil War. Sorry, I'm a little all over the place.
Yeah.
But since Lumon was established in 1865, the year that slavery was abolished, coincidence? And the year that the Civil War ended. And Kier is seen in a painting wearing I think a Confederate uniform. Okay. Is that right? Do you know what I'm talking about? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I just think that there's a ton of ties to the Civil War, which can't be a coincidence because these project names on all these doors are tied to, Civil War battles. A lot of them are. Cold Harbor, Drainesville. I think there's another one, but I'm forgetting it right now. Allentown, yes. No, that's
it's a Revolutionary War,
which is interesting. But then I don't know, because each room didn't necessarily correlate with that. Though they all were kind of more old-timey.
Yeah.
Like the airplane one, Gemma is wearing an outfit that's like clearly from probably the 40s or 50s. I don't know my fashion very well, but like somewhere in that era. And I don't know if that's because they're trying to emulate that time period or if their stuff is outdated. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's really interesting.
It is interesting. I mean, we've talked about how this could even be an alternate history where if the South had won and Kier is kind of like operating in a world and created this company and all this.
Yeah,
in that
shout
context.
out to Dan, because I think that was Dan's theory, right?
I think so.
But
I mean, it is also interesting because this whole idea of fighting within yourself, that could be, within a nation, the split of North versus South, right? Innie versus outie. So
there's so many things to pull
There are some parallels there that are really, really compelling.
And the whole slavery.
Yeah. I mean, I think maybe that could be part of the backstory. It could be that this whole new workforce is a new slave kind of thing. Maybe the machines things works in the sense that they're not enslaving humans anymore.
Yeah.
But they're creating a workforce that is where those machines think that they are human and therefore they're more effective because there's a lot of movies where it's about where now these machines that are living with people as like maids or whatever that humans become attached to because they seem so human and real as brothers and sisters. And like After Yang is a really interesting little movie where it's like, I think because they lost one of their children, like they got like a machine that took over that role in the family and they become really attached and they're trying to repair the machine, so there is something interesting there. Again, the ideas of loss. And so even Mark being like, oh, I want Gemma back, not realizing like she's really dead or thinking she's really dead, but thinking now she's alive. Like, again, this is the place that this kind of new technology can give us, not only erasing our negative memories so we can let the frolic, or maybe by compensating by giving us back our lost, right? I don't know. There's some interesting things there. I do think the naming of the Civil War battles for the projects is just kind of a thematic thing, maybe. Like our founder here was like, he's from that era. We kind of keep that thing going, and
Yeah.
you just use those names. Yeah, I didn't really see much more.
It does
of a
seem like they
connection from this
care a
episode.
lot about the names, though. And
Mm.
like, so our friend Faye, she like researched all of the names, all the
Mm.
characters' names, and it does feel like they each very much align with the
Oh.
characters',
Hmm.
arc or goal.
Yeah.
So I do think they're paying really close attention to the naming of things.
Okay.
Last thing I want to say is my husband said that it's really interesting how all of the innies are trapped by the outies, but Gemma is trapped by her innie.
Oh,
And
that is
how
really.
heartbreaking that is.
Yeah. I know, it's her innie that it steps into each room knowing what's going to happen.
Yeah.
But maybe she doesn't know.
But even just her trying to escape and then becoming Miss Casey again.
Yeah.
Like, that was just heartbreaking.
Yeah, but it's like how much
So-
of that, because it's so separated, just not being aware was actually happening.
Mm-hmm. What
All
a
right.
downer.
So, a few more episodes left in the season, but
Yes.
this is a great, I think,
So
development.
good.
So let us know what you think of our thoughts, if you have any other theories, and
Comment your theories.
yeah. So follow some of the things
Mhm.
and join us next week. We'll be back with a movie review as we continue our quest for the 5th star.